Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and it is August 15th and it's 9:33 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to pick up from where I left off with the last Q video, and I know you're probably aware of this, but I am late with my posts. I wanted to do the 14th to this morning when I got up, actually, and I discovered while I was sleeping that somehow everything had got erased. Now, how that happens, I don't know, but it did. And I have had various computer problems ever since I started reporting about Q. This is my third computer, and now my computer's working perfectly fine. It's just that this is the second time that it has erased itself, and I do not understand how that happens. I have been doing computer stuff for a very, very long time and never had this happen until now. So, having said that, it makes me all the more determined. So I recopied all of the Q posts and redid my my research for the 14th, and that is why I am reporting that now to you. So the 14th is gonna be one video, and the 15th I'm gonna put on a second video because Q has been posting today and there's a lot of good stuff. So hopefully I'll get to that tonight, but I can't make you any promises at this point. We'll see how it goes. But let's jump in here to the 14th and see what we have, because actually there's a lot of interesting stuff. All right, hang on one second. Now, Q here is making reference to this Anon who posts this from Infowars.com. He posted a screenshot that says, Infowars is under attack. Please visit our other channels now. And it says Infowars.com, Alex Jones. And underneath this Anon says, note to Alex Jones shills. Nobody hacks a site and brings it down, but publishes a useful and informative redirect page. It's effing obvious this is a staged attack. Why am I not surprised? Now, Q responds to that, interestingly enough, and says, actors will act. So, who's he calling an actor? Obviously, Alex Jones. Now, I have been under that impression for quite a while now. Excuse me. And so that only confirms what I have felt. I didn't always feel that way about Alex Jones. I used to be an avid listener, but I just slowly came to the conclusion that he was controlled opposition. At least that's how I felt at the time. And I am, don't give me a bunch of hate messages down below. If you're an Alex Jones fan, that is perfectly fine. I'm not going to argue with anyone. This is just how I personally feel. I'm not asking anyone else to believe that or to feel that way. But I am pointing out here that Q is making the same accusation indirectly by saying actors will act. And he says, we target NBC. NBC targets Q. Strategic. We are in control. Q. So first he's saying actors will act, and then he's saying, we've targeted NBC, and now NBC's targeting Q, because they know Q is not a conspiracy. Believe me, if anybody knows, it's the cabal. They know. Otherwise, would they even be messing with this? I mean, it might be relegated to a few jokes on late night television, but I doubt it would be getting the attention that it's getting if it wasn't true. Because if it wasn't true, who cares? Right? So the very fact, it's like, methinks the lady doth protest too much. It's kind of like that. Yeah, they're making all this noise about Q. Well, if Q is not real and we're all a bunch of retards, well then who cares? What harm is it? So, but Q reminds us, we are in control. Q. And, I believe it. I do believe it, that they are in control. All right, now let's go up to the next post here from the 14th. And it says, important takeaway. We've had the ball the entire time. Think offense. Why did POTUS move his entire operation out of Trump Tower the day after the Admiral Rogers secret, what is this? It's secured something information facility. I always forget this. I always do, and it makes me so angry. I should know this, but hang on. SCIF. Sensitive compartmented information facility. Why can't I get that through my head? Sensitive compartmented information facility. That's what it is. Always get that mixed up. Anyways, so he met the day after he moved his entire operation out of Trump Tower the day after he met with Admiral Rogers. Why? Well, obviously, Admiral Rogers told him he was being spied on, right? Why else would he do it? There's no reason to move his entire operation if he had no knowledge that he was being spied upon. But he did. And he had the knowledge because someone told him. A white hat by the name of Admiral Rogers. The world is watching. The world is here. Eyes on Q. And by the world is watching, they literally are. And the world is literally wanting to know what's happening with this. And some are thinking that it's, a big lark or LARP rather. And others are watching because they're cheering Q on. They're cheering Trump on. They're seeing, hey, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. All of this. The guilty need to pay. The trafficking needs to be shut down. The evil needs to be exposed. And isn't that what everyone would want? I would hope, unless maybe you're one that's involved in it. Then you may not be so thrilled about it. All right, so here Q is making reference to his own tweet here. Not tweet, rather post. I get his Facebook and his posting mixed, not Facebook, but Twitter and his posting here mixed up sometimes. So just listen to what I mean and not what I say. I guess that's the best way to do it. Anyway, so he makes reference to his post here about we've had the ball the entire time. Think offense. And then below it says they are in full-blown panic mode. Enjoy the show. Each fake news article, written or attack is a badge of honor, military grade. Q. So he's expecting the attacks. He's forecasting them. He's prophesying them, so to speak. He knows. And I think this is interesting up here as well that he made reference to here. We read it below. We've had the ball the entire time. Now, remember when Putin passed the ball to Trump and said, the ball's in your court now. And we surmised that there was information because there was a chip in that ball and that there was information being passed. But it's interesting because Q says, we've had the ball the entire time. It's not just that, it's in our court now. We've had the ball the entire time. So I think that is a reference to the whole Putin thing, and that everything that's being done, he keeps saying, get the popcorn or whatever, enjoy the show and whatever, that it's a movie. Remember he asked, what makes a good movie? Well, what makes a good movie is good actors, good actresses. That's what makes a good movie. A good plot. Well, we've got a good plot. Do we have the actors? I think we do. I think a lot of this is acting. And I don't think we're going to know. Some we may never know, and some may come out years later, or maybe sooner, I don't know. But I think that this is an act. It's all an act. And I think that there are world leaders in on it. I really do. I know that sounds out there. I know that, you guys can listen to this and probably agree, but I think that if just a new person was listening to this, they'd probably think that I needed some psychiatric help, because it does sound way out there. But, if you've been following this from the start, can't you just see that some of this has been an act? Really. It's all been planned. All been planned beforehand. Anyway, let's go up to the next post, and again from August 14th, and Q makes reference to this post by an anon who asks, DOJ airplane in Arkansas? Now, this is going to answer the question once and for all. I didn't put anything about this airplane in Arkansas because I could not find absolute proof or verify it to my satisfaction. So I never did mention it, but I'm sure you've all heard it mentioned because it's been out there on Twitter, all sorts of places, about the DOJ plane going into Mena, Arkansas, and coming out with a bunch of files and so forth. Now, in regards to that, Q is answering definitively. So that speculation needs to stop now, because Q is putting it to rest. Do not link to Clinton Foundation. The DOJ airplane in Arkansas has nothing to do with the Clinton Foundation. Q is telling us that. So in terms of that, the speculation needs to end there. It's not linked. And Q says, the Clinton Foundation documents are kept in New York City, and I guess that's Utah. UT. I would assume that's Utah. So there you go. The documents are not even in Mena, Arkansas. So the DOJ plane, whatever it was doing there, it was not linked to the Clinton Foundation. I wish it was. I was hoping that it was. I wanted to report on it, but there was something in me that just said, there's something about this that just doesn't ring true yet. And so now definitively we know it had nothing whatsoever to do with the Clinton Foundation. So anybody that is saying that at this point is spreading disinformation. All right, now let's go way up, because I've inserted a bunch of things in here to kind of, fatten our knowledge base of this whole plane crash thing. And so I got to go way up here to the next Q post, which references it. Here we go. Now, Q here makes reference to this post by an anon who asks, are audits hot or cold on the plane message in Seattle or not? Way too much speculation. And I would agree. There's been a lot of speculation about the plane, and I myself have been involved in speculating because I know that whatever story we're being given is not the right story. It doesn't make sense at all. So Q responds and says to this person, calculate probability. What is the mathematical probability that a rogue missile launched at, near, the runaway plane? Now, this doesn't say runway, it says runaway, the runaway plane. Was the plane a runaway plane? Don't know. Well, let's go on. I'll come back to what I think because right now the important thing is what Q thinks. Was he a trained pilot? How fast did the intercept occur? Think missile intercept. Think aircraft. Outside of standard deviation? Do people travel to islands to fish? Now, first of all, calculate the possibility or the probability. And of course, if any of you have taken statistics in university, you know what a standard deviation is. So is the probability outside of a standard deviation? Oh yes, way, way outside. And he goes on, and we're going to come back to this. So how many billionaires own islands? Well, it seems a lot. It seems like a whole lot because there's Richard Branson, there's Epstein Island, there's, who else owns an island? Oh, I was just reading about this. Well, many. I mean, and I know that doesn't really answer the question, does it? How many billionaires own islands? But there's a lot. And Epstein and Branson are not just the only two. There's a lot that own their own islands. Why? Well, you own your own island and you're pretty secluded. You can do what you want. Really, nobody's going to stop you. And G-O-T, clandestine Q. Now, let's start into this, okay? First of all, do people travel to islands to fish? Now remember when Q, the day, and I did have this here in my last one that I've lost. I should have gone and looked it up again, but remember the post by Q that happened the exact same day that the plane was stolen. And he said, fishing is fun. Now, you know, I didn't really know exactly what he was referring to, but that's what Q said on the exact same day that the plane was stolen. Fishing, and he put fish like this and then ing, is fun. Now we have, do people travel to islands to fish? What's he talking about? Well, he could be talking about any number of things. Were they fishing for something on the island? Were they, we know that this island, or it's surmised at this point that the island was used for trafficking. There are 17 people that live full-time on the island. 17, of course, is the 17th number of the alphabet is Q. There's a lot of really strange things about this whole plane incident. We've got the fact that this plane, there is no way, absolutely no way, somebody could get into an airplane without ever having driven an airplane and take off perfectly, do barrel rolls that even, experienced pilots say is exceedingly difficult, and does a perfect Q around an island for quite a long time. Was he a trained pilot? Well, the story is no. In fact, you know what he was? They say he was a mechanic. No, he wasn't. He was a baggage handler. That's what he was. He loaded the bags into the airplane. You know, when you're you check your bags and everything, and you're sitting on the airplane, and you'll see the baggage carriers come up and they're putting it into the back of the plane while you're sitting there in the bay there. And same thing when the plane lands, the baggage carrier brings the big trolley. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. Brings the big trolley. I talk with my hands, that's why I sometimes hit the microphone. So brings the big tall trolley and loads all the bags off. Well, that's what he did. So a mechanic you could almost understand, because they would have to have some idea of how the plane worked. and everything else. But a baggage handler? No. He had no training, okay, to be a pilot. How fast did the intercept occur? Well, apparently, I thought it was really quickly, but I read somewhere, and I could be wrong, and please correct me in the comments below if I am. I heard that it was like an hour he was up there before the F-15s were dispatched. I don't know. That could be wrong. That could be disinformation that I've heard and am repeating. So if it is, please correct me below, because I would rather be correct than be right. You know what I'm saying? I don't, if I'm incorrect, I want to know and I want to be corrected, because I don't want misinformation standing. So anyway, he says, think aircraft. Now, the other thing he says, what is the mathematical possibility that a rogue missile launched at or near the runaway plane? Well, it did. It did. The rogue missile that was launched at Air Force One originated very, very near this island at, I'll get to it in a minute. I forgot, the name is on the tip of my mind, but it won't come out. So, but the missile, the rogue missile that was launched at Air Force One came from very, very near that exact location. So, we're going to get to all this, but let's look at this fish. Do people travel to the islands to fish? Let's look at this, which I was not aware of at all. Wonder, yeah, I mean, it could be that Q is alluding to this, or it could be something else, but I wanted to throw it out there for you guys. Human trafficking widespread in global fishing industry. Well, isn't that interesting? Now, I didn't know that. Perhaps you guys did. I didn't. Human trafficking widespread in global fishing industry. Now, I'm not going to go through and read all this, but it's interesting to know that this is well known. And you've got even Pompeo talking about it. Horrific accounts of human trafficking and abuse of African immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers have emerged from Libya, resulting in modern-day slave markets now. But it's not just there. Apparently, this is the global fishing market. So that's interesting. As far as I'm concerned, could be that Q is referring to that. Maybe this is a stop, this island. It certainly is an important island in many ways. Now, I'm going to go first. Let's go to here. What is this? Okay, let's go here first. This is the Great Awakening Board, and I happen to think that they've done a very good job with this particular post in dissecting it. So I wanted us to take a look at this. And let's just, my computer's being a little bit slow. Okay, it's being a lot slow. And let me see how far I have to go down here. I hope I've got the right. Okay, the guy flying the craft wasn't Russell, a fake name to allude to a submarine or even remote control. Not the Russell sub, but to identify that it was for a sub. We know that it couldn't have been some random dude who flew because of pilot's reaction stating that the amount of experience required to fly those maneuvers were not within Russell's capabilities. Q said they love fishing. The whole op may have been a fishing expedition, and their catch was a sub, a missile-firing sub. Jets were scrambled most likely to protect the craft from incoming fire. The Q-400 most likely did those maneuvers because it needed to. Geometric telemetry aka to bounce radar tech off of the sub from angles required to confirm for a fact of the sub's location. The plane needed unorthodox, unique points of views and angles. Q400 went fishing for a sub. They found the sub. Sub was most likely last nuclear bastion for deep state control. Now it's toast. Toasted sub sandwiches, anyone? I am a Canadian and I try my hardest to follow along. It's all very depressing and mentally exhausting. I need help. I hope you can help me with my question. Is it implying that some force on Earth had WMDs in submarines in American waters? It's implying that a rogue actor or state, in this case, the deep state, had access to weaponry. The CIA has had their own military arm. So again, what is being implied is that the submarine capable of firing missiles was under control of the deep state, and that this incident, orchestrated by the White Hats, neutralized that particular threat. This theory also applies to the Hawaii missile that was fired from a sub. Okay, thank you for answering. Please bear with my next questions. WTF? How can this shit be happening? How can a good damn state in the Western world come under attack? How can a nuclear threat be allowed? Being turned into dust is not meant to be a near miss. What is the deep state? Well, see, these are too many questions that we already know, so I'm not going to. It says the missile launched at Hawaii was primarily to blame North Korea to stop the summit with Trump and UN to start World War III. The deep state is the U.S., is anyone from both parties who are globalists. They are all traitors. Our CIA has been rogue since inception. They have weapons and have been running things at their will. Drug running, assassinations, wars is their specialty. How this was achievable was because the globalists, New World Order guys, most of our politicians, the media, and other bad actors have lied to the American people for decades. The world has been run by Satanists and pedophiles in three main families: the House of Saud, the Rothschilds, and George Soros. Don't forget the royals. The House of Saud has been taken out. Go back and read Q posts from the beginning. There's a list of initials I can send you to help you understand, and there are many on YouTube to help too. Also, after the G7 in Canada, POTUS was then to fly to meet Kim for the summit. Unexpectedly, he had to leave, and it was recorded that he did leave early. The military intel got word that there could be an attack on Air Force One on the way to meet with Kim. Someone didn't want the president to meet with Kim. POTUS boarded Air Force One, but he was taken away from the danger, hence the 2-hour delay. We are not sure where he ended up. Air Force Two was used as a decoy. When it got over Whidbey Island, that's the island that I couldn't remember, Whidbey Island, a missile was launched at the plane. It was captured on a weather station in the area. The missile was taken out by accompanying jets. This is a Q drop relating to the same. And it says this is not a game. Certain events were not supposed to take place. Q. There are many pics of the missile launch. Just Google missile, Alaska. There have been many theories put forward, from a weather balloon, fireworks, etc. It was a missile, confirmed by Q. It was fired, like the ones in Hawaii, from a submarine. Listening to the live chat at the time, Anons that had military experience confirmed that there is a naval base nearby, but they didn't have that size missile launch capabilities. We never heard if the submarine was destroyed. The island is in the same area. This is a fraction of what we will share with you. Ask as many questions, and if we can, we will try to answer them. Welcome. And anyway, let's go back, because a lot of this stuff we already know, but it is good to refresh ourselves, especially, let me see if I can make this big enough to read. I grabbed this from somewhere. And it says, Okay, this is about billionaires owning islands. What is the mathematical probability that a rogue missile launched at near runaway plane? No coincidences. How many billionaires own islands? Many. How many billionaires live on islands? Not many, because the island isn't for them to live on. It's for Mossad to operate on. Now, I'm not sure about that. We're going to look into that as well. And this is Epstein Island. Each prince is associated with a cardinal direction. The 4 princes are actually 4 missiles. And this is Epstein Island. So let's come down here. Now this is Rich Russell, the person who supposedly was operating the plane. I don't happen to believe that. I think that the plane was remote controlled because I don't think it's possible for anyone with no skills whatsoever flying an airplane could make those difficult maneuvers. But isn't it interesting that his name is Rich Russell, his nickname is Bebo, and he supposedly took the SeaTac plane, but there is also a USS Richard B. Russell, which is a nuclear submarine. Now, I believe it's been retired, if I'm not mistaken, but it doesn't say here. But look at this down here. What is the motto for the Richard B. Russell submarine? Well, interestingly enough, it is "They saved the best for last." Well, isn't that interesting? And why is that interesting? Well, we'll see. We'll see. And the USS Richard B. Russell is stored here, okay? And this is the missile fire from Skunk Bay is here. And this is the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard right here. And that's where the USS Richard B. Russell is stored. Now, remember that Q, in one of his drops, and I don't know if I put this in here or not, he said, "We saved the best for last." Remember that? Not sure if it's related, but it most certainly could be. Now, here's something else. International fraudster and sexual predator Gary Lundgren has ties to the Ketron Island sewage system. During the campaign in 2015, Trump filed suit with the Paris-based International Chamber of Congress against Lundgren. So Trump has a lawsuit against Lundgren. And this is from the island, and that sure, from Ketron Island, and that sure does look like a missile silo to me. I mean, if I was a betting woman, I would bet that it was. So, continued on with Trump and Lundgren and his business partners claiming they entered into a conspiracy against Trump in a business deal in Panama. Lundgren has a history of being a shady businessman, once finding himself in court in Washington over the mismanagement of the Ketron sewage system. Well. And I got this from the Twitter page of Where We Go One, We Go All, if you wish to follow this person, because I think that they do have some very good information. Now, and just to boot, he has a history of being accused of being a sexual predator. Well, things just, not Trump, Lundgren. Things just add up here. And this person says, okay, theory time. The Q400 was remote controlled. It was a diversion war game tactic to divert F-15s over the island and take out some kitty raping dungeon operation. Prove me wrong. Well, personally, I do think that there is some of that on the island, and I do believe that there are tunnels on the island, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I'm just thinking that there probably are. It's in very close proximity to other raping and pillaging islands. So this anon says, number 1, Black Hats remote controlled a plane to crash on Ketron Island. Number 2, Black Hats planned a launch from Whitby, so White Hats sent an F-16 to destroy the missile with the Q-400 as a cover. I don't know. There's a lot of theories. One thing I would bet my life on just about is the fact that it was remote controlled, because there's no way that there was a unskilled pilot in the pilot seat. There's just no way. It did not happen. And the other thing is, if you listen to his conversation with the tower, it's way too casual. It's like he's joking around with them. Like, it's way too casual. And, he's talking to them while doing a barrel roll, and he just sounds, completely relaxed, and, look, it is pretty. Oh, I think I'll do a backflip. Come on. And, and this is the lawsuit here. I'm not going to read it, but I just want to show it to you. Analysis and commentary on money laundering and financial crime. Trump seeks $75 million in damages against Gary Lundgren and other Trump Ocean Club directors. So, not sure what that's about, and I'm not going to get into it all right now. Because let me tell you, there's enough stuff to, I don't know how we can ever get all of this stuff, researched, because there's just a lot. Now, let's go back, and this is very interesting, if you ask me. And again, I found this from Where We Go One, We Go All, and they took it from DJ2779, and he says, interesting find by DJ2779. The plane was diverted the day before it was stolen. This is a very interesting new development. Well. What do you think that means? I don't know either. But it's interesting. And these things should be made note of. Now, and somebody else says, how about this SHIT ex-deputy clerk James Porter, who lives on the island, was arrested for sex with a minor. Now, mind you, there's only 17 people that live on the island. And this is the size of it. It's not a big island at all. And here is his house. This guy's house. Quite a large house. And I realize this is blurry, but I just can't help that from where I got it from. James Porter and Nicole Farm, who lives and currently owns the house at the tip of Ketron Island, where the plane went down, also was ex-deputy clerk of Pierce County and was arrested for sex with underage females. So, just another coincidence, I guess. Thomas E. Palmer and his wife own a house on Ketron Island. I did some digging, and it turns out he's done some pro bono work for a human trafficking non-profit. I literally cannot believe how deep this rabbit hole goes. And indeed it does. And then this person brought up a very interesting point as far as I'm concerned. I used to fly a lot, and when you are in the bay, of course, you go to your terminal and you get on the plane, and you are at the bay, and the plane has to back out, okay? Well, these back the plane out. She says, I want to know where the video is of this guy when it first happened. Even Walmart has over 100 cameras at one store. Also, how did he back the plane out if he acted alone as alleged? Planes don't have reverse and need to be pulled out by tugs. That is true. That is true, and I never thought about that. pushback tugs are the coolest vehicles at the airport. And if you've flown, we've all seen them, right? They pull you out of your where the plane is. They pull you out of there, and then you get put in the right direction, and you taxi towards your towards takeoff and get in line to take off, and you communicate with the tower, and they tell you when it's clear for takeoff. So where are the cameras showing this guy? How did he back out? How did he get the plane? There would have been a lot of planes there. So how did he get to the to where he was supposed to take off? And why wasn't he caught before then? Because usually, whenever I've flown, you're usually not the first in line to fly. You might be, I think I've been second before, or third or fourth or fifth, and you wait for these guys to one to take off, and then the next one moves up, and you move up, and you're finally there. Well, if that was happening and he had to wait at all for any other planes, they could have had time to get to him, right? So I don't know. There's a lot that doesn't add up. A lot. And what's this? Okay, so that's it for that. There's a whole lot more concerning that, but there comes a point where you have to stop flogging the dead horse. So we'll go all the way back up, and it's a long way back up. So, yeah, we know that it had something to do with that rogue missile that was launched at the actually it was Air Force Two, because Air Force Two was acting as a decoy, but that rogue missile and this had something to do with that. So what they were doing, maybe they were taking out the facility and the plane was acting as cover. I don't necessarily think that it was black hats that had control of the plane. I think that it was probably the white hats personally. But again, I don't know, and I'd be, I would love to hear whatever theories that you've come up with or whatever you think in looking at the evidence that's out there. So anyway, let's go on. And here is the next one. Not seen since WikiLeaks Podesta dump. Similar, and he's talking about the attack on POTUS and Q and all that. Not seen since WikiLeaks Podesta dump. Similar in nature to attacks on POTUS. Well, yes, the attacks on Q is similar in nature to the attacks on POTUS. Think waves. Think coordinated. Think all outlets utilized, plus fakes. Fake, make America great again. So not everybody in our movement, not everybody in this movement that believes in Q or, wears the Make America Great hat or, says that they're a Trump fan is actually the real deal. There are fakes out there meant to make us look bad, right? We know that. And an example of that would be the guy in the truck on the Hoover Dam. You think that was a real Q fan? You think that was a real Trump fan? No, not on your life. That was planned. That was a planned fake flag, and they did it so they could point at the guy and go, oh, look, it's one of those crazy Trump supporters. So think all outlets utilized plus fakes. Foreign and domestic. Are the emails in the WikiLeaks Podesta dump authentic? Yeah, they are. Has POTUS made a statement as president that hasn't ended up being true and correct? Not to my knowledge. If he has, I'm not aware of it. So If you're aware of anything that he said that has been incorrect and has been a lie, then please put it in the comments below, because I'm not aware of anything. Destroy the narrative. This is much bigger than even Otis can imagine. Much bigger. So even though we have an idea of how big this is, what he's saying is, no, it's way, way bigger. We might think that we know the magnitude of it, but we don't. So it must be freaking huge, because, we're starting to see how big this thing is and how it's got his little, tentacles into everything. And yet it's bigger. It's much, much bigger. And he said repeats necessary. What does he mean by that? Repeats necessary. Well, it means that he's got to repeat some things that he may have said earlier. He needs to repeat them. And why? Because there's 5,000 plus new people a day looking at this. So, he can't just go on assuming that everybody knows what he's talking about when there are 5,000 new people coming on board every day looking at this stuff going, what? And you and I know that a lot of stuff, we just know automatically what he's speaking about because we've been following it all along. But those that are brand new don't have that opportunity. So it's important for him to keep repeating certain things. And he's explaining why that is. He says, welcome to the awakening. Who is he welcoming? The 5,000 plus new people a day. He's saying, welcome to the awakening. And he's saying free information. What is Q doing? He's giving us free information. That's what he's disseminating. And he's saying he's giving power back to the people. So he's welcoming the new people on board. He's telling them, look, there's free information here. We're giving power back to the people. That's what we're doing here. Because with knowledge comes power. Q. So this is a great post as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to go up to the next. And this is a little bit harder to understand if you ask me, which I guess you are asking me, or you wouldn't be listening to what I have to say. So here it says example 1.1. Now at first when I saw this, X 1.1, I thought Exodus 1:1, but having gone there and read Exodus 1:1, it doesn't make sense in this context. So he's saying example 1.1, and he puts MOS at the top, and from MOS, now that could stand for Mossad, or it could stand for something else. So we're going to look at both possibilities. And from there, that is the top of this little pyramid he's made for us, and it comes to the alt plus US media and goes out to US politicians. And from there, I'm not sure what belongs in these two blanks. Not sure. So Q says, those who scream the loudest find the connections. 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Primary, affiliate A, affiliate B, affiliate C. Marching to the same beat. Coincidence, logical thinking. Q. Now what he's talking about here, and it seems pretty clear to me, that in terms of saying primary to affiliate A, to affiliate B, to affiliate C, the primary is whoever is giving out the information, and it flows to, to all the affiliates. Like somebody is getting the news drop, right? The 4 a.m. drop, somebody's getting that, and it goes out to everyone. And Q says, marching to the same beat, coincidence? Well, no, it's not a coincidence, because what are the chances that all the radio station or the rather the TV stations and radio and newspapers all are carrying the same message with the same slant. What is the chances of that? You ask 10 people to write an article about something and you will get 10 completely different opinions and different slants and different biases, depending. So how is it possible that all of the outlets have the same slant, the same wording? It's not possible. Q says logical thinking. Q. Now, there are some that suggest that the top of this is Mossad. Now, I have a hard time believing that. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm just saying that this seems to make more sense to me. And let's go look at what MOS is. And it's the internet is slow. I think the information is walking to us. Okay. Now, they've taken down already this link, which makes me wonder if this isn't correct. So, I've linked to the web archive, the Wayback Machine, which gives you an earlier picture of a website. If you haven't used the Wayback Machine, it is a wonderful tool for doing research. And MOS. The first meeting of the MOS Development Group was held in the late summer of 1998. MOS is an acronym for Media Object Server Communication Protocol. The MOS protocol is intended to be a global industry solution to the problem of how do I get my brand X computer system to communicate with my brand Y media server? What does MOS do? Media Object Server Communication Protocol allows newsroom computer systems, NCS, and media object servers, MOS, to exchange information using a standard protocol, language, and vocabulary. This protocol enables the exchange of the following types of messages. Descriptive data for media objects. The MOS pushes descriptive information and pointers to the newsroom computer system as objects are created, modified, or deleted in the MOS. This allows the new newsroom computer systems to be aware of the contents of the MOS and enable the NCS to perform searches on and manipulate the data the MOS has sent. Playlist exchange, status exchange. Okay, now let's go back because we've got some more information over here. So this is the descriptive data for media objects. It pushes the descriptive information and pointers to the newsroom computer systems, blah, blah, blah. Playlist exchange. The NCS can build and transfer playlist information to the MOS. This allows the newsroom control or computer systems to control the sequence that media objects are played or presented by the MOS. Media Object Server Communications Protocol, an evolving protocol for communications between newsroom computer systems and media object servers, MOS, such as video servers, audio servers, still stores, and character generators. This protocol is supported and developed through a cooperative collaboration among equipment vendors, software vendors, and end users. Our goal is to develop and maintain a common communications protocol which allows integration of diverse newsroom computer systems and MOS equipment. So, I don't know, is this what it means? Hang on here, went too far. Well, let's look at this. The secret to the widespread adoption of newsroom automation. Now, I'm not going to read through all this, but there we have that. That's one of the theories that what MOS means. And let's go to another on the Great Awakening board, because I do want us to have both. And in this, they are actually discussing that particular drop by Q. And let's go down here. Let me see here. And this person says, MOS is the way the media coordinates their 4 a.m. talking points. And then somebody said, holy SHIT, they took the page down quick. Thank God for archives. And that's what we just looked at, because the page went down, leading me to think that that is probably the most likely of scenarios. But someone down here says, let me see. One second. It says MOS. This abbreviation has been used by Q in the past for Israel's intelligence service, Mossad. I know because I just looked it up. My take is Mossad. We'll see. MOS was used in number 1751, Israel saved for last, in drop number 916. So, and Q did say that Israel was saved for last. And somebody said Exodus 1:1 is Exodus 1:1. Example 1:1 equals Exodus 1:1. It doesn't. That's one of the very first things I looked up, because I thought the same thing. The people, news, celebs, politicians, officials who seem to take the same opinion on this, marching to the same beat, are controlled by answer to MOS. MOS is Mossad, National Intelligence Agency of Israel. Is Q saying Israel is at the top of control? Q says here, we are saving Israel for last. Very specific reason, not mentioned a single time. And working their way from the bottom to the top, the kingpin, I think so. Remember, he said Israel last. So I don't know. Now, this person says Mossad is controlled by the KM Zionist Synagogue of Satan Jews, aka Rothschilds, not too dissimilar to the CIA being controlled by the deep state New World Order. Now, there is a big difference between Zionist Jews and regular Jews. So I am not of the mindset to be downing all Jews. So and I delete those comments always, because that's just over the top as far as I'm concerned. They, the cabal, are the most entrenched in Israel, and my guess is that this is the reason that Israel is being saved for last. If you read up on Jewish Kabbalah, it is very secretive and satanic. Many worldwide are members of it, and that is true. That is very, very true. And a lot of the Luciferians also follow the Kabbalah as well. This is not real Judaism. Right. That's the point. That's not real Judaism. Those that follow the Kabbalah and are entrenched in Zionist, that's not real Judaism, as in the Bible, but an evil substitution. I happen to agree with that. So I also happen to know that a lot of members of Congress and so forth have passports to Israel. Like, they also have Israeli passports. I don't get that. I've never seen absolute 100% proof of it, but I've sure heard it a lot. So I'm not telling that to you as a fact, because I have not proved conclusively, but I have heard that a bunch. So let's go on from there. And we're going to go up to the next Q post, and we've got this. Q is making reference to this post by an anon, and this anon is posting something. Police from several suburban municipalities are staging in the parking lot of Cedarbrook Plaza. Early reports say there's an active shooter in the Cheltenham Walmart. Now, there did turn out to be a shooter there, and of course, right away, the comments beneath it, if you go to the Twitter page, was, oh, it's got to be Q supporters or Trump supporters. So right away, they were making assumptions that in the end turned out not to be true. And there were, I can't remember how many people shot, perhaps 4, I'm not sure. But and this anon says police from several suburban municipalities are staging in the parking lot of Cedarbrook Plaza. Early reports say there's an active shooter in the Cheltenham Walmart, and it shows the Twitter page. And of course, if we went to the Twitter page, which I don't know if I want to go to the Twitter page, but if we did, we would see that beneath it, people early on are making reference to it being Q supporters. So underneath, Q responds to this and says, do you believe in coincidences? California light fires dropped. Next, man caught who follows Q. Now, we all know what the California's fires were all about, and if you look up directed energy, you will find the answer. And there is nothing normal about the California fires, nothing normal at all. And that needs to be looked into further. I have done some looking into it, enough to be absolutely convinced that these were not natural fires, because homes and cars do not burn and leave the trees around them untouched. That's not possible. So it's some sort of directed weaponry, and I am convinced of it. But they drop it. Once people start talking about it being directed weaponry, they drop it. And then next, all of a sudden, we've got a man caught, and he follows Q. Well, that's entirely predictable. Let's just go out. We're not going to read it, but we will read the headline here. California wildfire suspect posted about QAnon and other conspiracies. This place is going to burn, Forrest Clark allegedly texted a volunteer fire chief 2 weeks before the fire. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. So, there you go. Now, interesting. The holy fire still rages and is only 5% contained, the Orange County Register reported. That's an odd thing to say, the holy fire. Look up, if you have time on your hands and would like to, I would look up directed weaponry, because that's exactly what was happening here. All right, and let's go back. See what Q has to say. So he makes reference to this. Now I put this in here, this link, so that you could see that it was true, and that is exactly what happened, that the fires were dropped, and then next, all of a sudden, there's a man caught who follows Q. So of course, it's all Q's fault, and of course, Q is Donald Trump's fault, so let's blame Trump. And then he says, Q says, think previous. Boom, 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 boom. What happened? Well, I went out and I found the previous boom, 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 and it was on June 3rd. And he said, a week to remember, dark to light, blackout necessary, Q. So I just stuck that in there. Q didn't, but I knew that he said think previous, boom, 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 and I went and found it. Well, he says random coincidences, conspiracy, reread drops regarding setup, Q. So this was a setup. He posted this, and then guess what? This was June 3rd, and then guess what happened? We have the truck on the Hoover Dam incident on June 15th. So, again, trying to blame this on Q. Henderson man in armored truck on Hoover Dam bypass bridge arrested. Well, they're trying to blame it on Q and on Trump, of course. Seeing where it mentions it in here. Well, it's in there. So, there you go. That's what Q is referring to here. He's saying, yeah, they do these false flags and then they pin it on a Trump supporter or a Q supporter, someone that believes in conspiracies, and it's a setup. Of course. So let's go up to the next one. And here he refers to the exact same, Q is referring to his own post here that he just posted about do you believe in coincidences? And just to let us know that we are on the right track, he says Armored Man, Hoover Dam, link to Q. They will not stop. Nothing to see here. Ask yourself, why? Right. If Q's not real, why are they doing that? I don't know. And then he says Q, and then he says Q. But we're not to worry because he verifies that the Q is a typo up here. An Anon asks, confirm double Q was typo? And Q says confirmed Q. But the next one, before we get to that, is a security test. And this is not meant for us, and so I don't think that there's anything to see here. It's security test, ping, defend, B720-1A, Don't think we're meant to understand what that is. It is some sort of a security test, and it's not meant for us, so we can move along. And the next was confirming that the double Q was indeed a typo. Now, let's see this. This is the next, and again, it's from August 14th. And Q says Gmail drafts, Google safeguarded highest level, access, 3 Google, server routing, non-US based, sample, wet work. What's wet work? It's murder, and it's called wet work, of course, because there's blood involved, but even if there is no blood involved, they still call it wet work for obvious reasons. Human trafficking. So what they're saying here is Gmail drafts, Google safeguarded at the highest level access. There was 3 Google, servers, server routing, non-US based, and they were based not in the US. And they were able to freely discuss such things as wet work, human trafficking, sharing of ICE, Border Patrol, sea intel, schedules to safeguard, exit, entrance, sharing. Well, of course, they need to safeguard the borders, right? Because that's where a lot of the trafficking and drugs are coming from. And since we know that this is, being controlled by the deep state, of course they need to safeguard that, and they need to know who's entering and exiting and so forth. They need that intel. Sharing of FBI sea intel, and that's I believe it's counter intel perhaps, to safeguard private operators or operations, private operations. And we know that a lot of that stuff is done by private operation, right? Because we've been told previously by Q. Sharing of Department of Justice, where we stand investigations, because they're sharing, they're leaking information about what's going on with the DOJ investigations, and guide to overcome, dismiss, win, transfer of money instructions to left organizations, DOJ settlements, off-book meetings, play dates, stand-down orders, non-action orders, Muslim Brotherhood. These are all the things that are being discussed on these servers, to keep their communications private. Muslim Brotherhood, cross-coordination with UK assets. I'm not sure what OPRO is. Secret Intel Service, UK Police, UKP, I would assume, coordinate with foreign actors for payments, money disbursement, coordinate with aid organizations for illegal plans, ham radio instructions if remote. 5. Why did Eric Schmidt, or this could be, actually I believe in this context it would be Eric Snowden. Why did Eric Snowden make public NSA classified tools? Think X keyscore plus PRISM specifically. Was such technology kept from elected officials? Was such technology kept from elected directors? Why was no such agency created? Think signal intelligence. What advantages exist to big technology, other ABC off on agencies, elected officials, CEOs, foreign adversaries, etc., if such information is learned? What price are you, the public, willing to pay? Did you ever play hide and seek? Q. Now, I think I'm going to go out to the Reddit comments on this because I think that they've done a very good job. So let's proceed there, because there's no sense in me reinventing the wheel when someone has already done this and done a darn good job. And I'm telling you, my computer's slow tonight. I'm not sure. I think it's on Quaaludes, perhaps. All right, now, and this person, Liberty Tree Swing, says, huge! We get an example of the sorts of communications that took place through Gmail drafts, communication systems of the deep state on the non-US based Google servers. North Korea? Well, that's where I happen to believe that they were and are, maybe were. And we get the question, what benefits do the higher-ups get from having the Edward Snowden information released to the public? There are 2 benefits I can think of. 1, scaring people from communicating. 2, getting people to accept their overlord's ability to infringe on their personal communications. Actually, I believe it's 2. I remember after the Edward Snowden drops, people were saying, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to be afraid of. Well, the corruption of our natural rights and constitutional principles was my fear, and here we are. Now, let's go down. So the CIA, FBI, was protected by Google, who helped them set up the Gmail drafts for communications, or through communication through which they discussed all the stuff they couldn't on text messages. Wet work, human trafficking. They shared communications between each other about the movement of ICE and Border Patrol so they could move their operations with ease and not get caught. They were also getting up-to-date information on all of the details of any investigations at the DOJ and guidance on how to overcome, dismiss, or win those investigations. They also used the Gmail drafts to facilitate the transfer of funds to plan meetings, communicate about the Muslim Brotherhood, and for stand-down orders. Benghazi. The Gmail communications were cross-coordinated with UK intelligence assets, MI6, and also used to facilitate the payments for foreign actors, Christopher Steele, etc. They would also communicate with aid organizations such as Red Cross, who helped them with illegal operations. Gosh. Nellie Orr had a big role here because a ham radio was also used, and she was the one with the ham radio. So Nellie was right in the middle of facilitating the communication within the dark state. She was a key player, and I happen to believe that. Edward Snowden was letting the dark state know that the NSA was spying on them through their signals intelligence abilities to intercept all of the other secret intel abilities of the different intel agencies. And this person said apparently NSA and CIA hate each other's guts. Snowden was a plant. I don't know. I don't know about that, but it's entirely possible. I've read that too. The story goes NSA was intercepting Wall Street signals, allowing it to make killings on the market. This, of course, annoyed the CIA since it rightly regards Wall Street as its turf. So the CIA sent in Snowden. I mean, how else did a low-ranked guy like him get all those system permissions? Explaining it by virtue of him being a system administrator might fly if you were talking about a commercial firm asleep at the wheel, but not at NSA, where security is part of its core business. The idea was that Snowden's material would create such an uproar the public would demand a restructure of NSA's surveillance practices, but it didn't work. Yup, it's all wheels within wheels. I can just imagine the rivalries between these agencies must be epic. So there's a lot of good comments here, and we'll just see. Somebody, Liberty Tree Swing, said, "I love it. I just attempted some broad strokes at a decode, and you dove it. I like your alternate decode of the Snowden info. NSA ability snarled deep state communications as well. She was never supposed to lose. Well done." So again, I think that this is well done, and I think that it's well worth reading. No, what Q is trying to tell us is that by saying that the NSA and others within the government have this capability, they move attention away from themselves. Think about it. Who actually is maintaining this? NSA, CIA? Are they actually at Google or whoever making sure everything is set up right? Or does Google or whoever have contracts to them? Since it's on the commercial entity's property, they have access to the data. That is how they are tracking you. I think NSA has a lot more to do with all this than people think. They're rarely mentioned around here, which is a huge red flag for me. Well, there's a lot on this page, and again, you can find this easily yourself by going to the Great Awakening. It is post number 1876. Did you ever play hide and seek? So I think that they've done a wonderful job of decoding this. There's a lot of really good comments, and if you are so inclined, I would suggest that you go out and have a boo at it. All right, let's go back. Now, again, these are the last two posts from August 14th, and I'm going to stop after that and upload this. And hopefully I will have time to hit on the August 15th post tonight as well. I would like to. But let's go take a look at this link first. Now, AP exclusive. Google tracks your movements. Like it or not? Well, I don't like it. Thank you very much. And location history off. Google's still tracking you. Now, I didn't know that. I always turn my location history off, but apparently it doesn't matter. Google wants to know where you go so badly that it records your movements, even when you explicitly tell it not to. An Associated Press investigation found that many Google services on Android devices and iPhones store your location data, even if you've used a privacy setting that says it will prevent Google from doing so. Computer science researchers at Princeton confirmed these findings at the AP's request. For the most part, Google is upfront about asking permission to use your location information. An app like Google Maps will remind you to allow access to location if you use it for navigating. If you agree to let it record your location over time, Google Maps will display that history to you in a timeline that maps out your daily movements. An AP investigation found that Google saves your location history even if you've paused location history on mobile devices. This map shows where Princeton privacy researcher Gun Zakar traveled over several days from data saved to his Google account, despite location history being off. So we're not going to go and read all of this, but that is what Q wants us to know, and I'm glad that I do know it, although I'm not quite sure what to do about it. So here says Siri, Facebook listens even after you remove app. Twitter, geo tracking location. You are under constant tracking surveillance. DARPA, Q. Well, isn't that lovely? That's going to make me sleep so much more soundly this evening. Not. So let's move on from that little depressing piece of news that I already knew but didn't want to admit. And let's look at this, which is something else that's totally disgusting. I'm sure you've seen this. It's been in the news. It's been on Twitter. It's been everywhere I've looked. And I have to unblock this somehow to be able to look at this. Unblock. Okay. There we go. Woman arrested at extremist Muslim New Mexico compound moved to federal custody, sheriff says. Now, look at this. Judge rules extremist compound suspects.
State alleges that there was.
Judge rules extremist compound suspects are not a threat. Oh, really? Apparently, that's what they've judged. And they said not that they were jihadists like they actually were, but they were training kids for school shootings. But apparently they're not a threat. Judge sets $20,000 bond for each defendant after saying prosecutors failed to articulate any specific threats to the community. Okay. Janie Lavelle, one of 5 suspects arrested at the extremist Muslim compound in northern New Mexico, has been transferred to the custody of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Taos County Sheriff Jeffrey Hograff said Tuesday the remaining detainees are currently still in custody, the sheriff said. This person, however you pronounce her name, 40, another suspect from the compound, is being held on an outstanding warrant from Georgia, while the 3 others allegedly involved are still incarcerated pending the fulfillment of their release conditions. The defendants were arrested and 11 children were taken into custody during a raid August 4th on the compound near the Colorado state line. News of Lavelle's transfer comes a day after a judge ruled against the request of prosecutors to keep the 5 suspects imprisoned. Judge Sarah Bacchus said, although she was concerned by troubling facts, prosecutors failed to articulate any specific threats to the community because apparently school shootings aren't a threat to the community, to her. She set $20,000 bond for each defendant and ordered that they wear ankle monitors. Oh, big deal. Have weekly contact with their attorneys. Well, I'm sure that they will abide by that. I'm sure they're very worried about keeping the law. The children discovered at the compound earlier this month were both trained to use firearms and taught multiple tactical techniques in order to kill teachers, law enforcement, and other institutions they found corrupt, state prosecutors said on Monday. But I just want you to know that she didn't find that there were any specific threats to the community, this judge, Sarah Bacchus. Yeah. So, and wait, there's more. 3-year-old Abdul Ghani Wahaj, who had been missing since December, allegedly died amidst a ritualistic religious ceremony held on the grounds in an effort to cast out demonic spirits, Reuters reported. But again, According to Judge Sarah Bacchus, there's no specific threats to the community. Okay. It was a religious ritual. Have you ever died during a religious ritual? I mean, going to church or, whatever. Have you ever, I don't know, if you're Catholic and you go confess to a priest. Has anybody ever been killed during that? I didn't think so. It was just a religious ritual. I mean, he died, but hey, a ritual intended to cast out demonic spirits. Okay, public defenders argued the boy's father was trying to heal the child. Oh, well then, by reading passages from the Quran, but prosecutors claimed he was denying the boy medication. One of the children taken into custody claimed the boy had died in February. The children said they were told the boy would be resurrected as Jesus and guide them on which corrupt institutions to attack, NBC reported, citing investigators. Now, why would he be resurrected as Jesus if they are Muslim? Not sure there. Little confused. Anyway, let's go back to see what Q has to say. Well, I think that his reaction is like ours is, sick and disgusting. Judge Sarah Bacchus, well, I think we should remember that name, don't you? Q. Yeah. Not sure what her deal is, but I can just about guarantee she's a Democrat. So that is it for the 14th. Oh, no, it isn't. I lied to you. We have one more, and then we're on to the 15th. All right, let's go here. Now, this is, again, on something disgusting. Let's see this. And again, we're going to have to do this and unblock this. Alrighty. Stunning findings on report of Catholic Church abuse. Pennsylvania priest molested more than 1,000 children. 1,000. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to get into all this graphic stuff. If you want to look this up in the news,
here now tonight, Father Jonathan Morris.
More than welcome to do that. You've probably already heard it on the news. If, I would bet that anyway. I would bet that you have. So, let's go back. See what Q has to say about this. House of God? Certainly not. Certainly not. God does not approve of that. Never has, never will. Only the beginning. So this information coming out about a priest molesting more than 1,000 children in Pennsylvania, that's only the beginning, says Q. Those who you are taught to trust the most. Expect many, many, many similar reports to surface from around the world. It goes a lot deeper. Connected. The choice to know will be yours. Q. Wow. It just keeps getting worse and worse. So we are now on to today's. I'm going to stop here. I would like to tell you that they are messing with my numbers and dropping people from my my subscribed list. So if you want to be subscribed to my channel, make sure that you keep subscribed because they do drop people, and also hit the bell if you want to be notified, because several people have told me that they have done that and they are not notified. So just an FYI. Anyway, gonna stop there. Hope you have a wonderful night, that you sleep well and you stay safe. Have a wonderful day tomorrow as well. Hopefully I will be back with another video tonight. If not, it'll be tomorrow. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. I really do.